Krell Darzo adjusted his breathing apparatus and flicked his third eye membrane in what his species considered a gesture of intense concentration. The trade negotiation chamber aboard the Galactic Concord Station Harmonious Exchange was maintained at environmental settings that accommodated most species, which meant it was uncomfortably warm and oxygen-rich for a Phacidian like himself. But discomfort was part of diplomacy, and Krell had endured far worse in his 200 cycles as a senior diplomatic observer. "The proposed tariff structure seems reasonable," said the human representative, Ambassador Talia Reeves, her lips pulling back to reveal blunt, white teeth in what humans called a smile. Krell still found the expression unsettling, like a predator sizing up prey, though he'd been assured it signified friendliness among their kind. Krell watched as she tapped her data tablet with those curious 5-digited appendages. Hands, they called them. Such versatile tools for both creation and destruction. The casualness with which she handled the negotiations belied the fact that her species had only joined the Concorde 3 orbital cycles ago. "Most generous, considering your technological contributions," replied Zulvax, the Mercantile Guild representative, their translucent tendrils waving with barely concealed excitement. The humans had offered manufacturing techniques that had revolutionized quantum stabilizer production, seemingly for bargain rates. Krell's secondary antennae twitched, detecting the subtle shift in pheromones from the other 11 species representatives in the chamber. They all felt it too, the nagging sense that the humans were giving away too much, asking too little. It wasn't logical. "We believe in building relationships before fortunes," Ambassador Reeves said, that unnerving smile widening. "Earth is pleased to join your galactic community." As the formal signatures were applied using various appendages on the holographic agreement, Krell's deep brain cortex triggered a warning sensation. He had reviewed the classified reports from the xenobiologists who had studied Earth. Class 12 Deathworld. Constant planetary disasters. Apex predators everywhere. And these humans? They had not just survived there, they had dominated it. The human delegation stood to leave, and Krell noticed how effortlessly Ambassador Reeves moved in the station's artificial gravity. A gravity most species found challenging, but which was actually lighter than Earth's crushing pull. He observed the coiled strength in her movements, the quick scanning of exits performed by her security detail behaviors so subtle most species missed them entirely. "Until our next meeting," Ambassador Reeves nodded respectfully to the chamber. Yes, Krell thought, watching them depart. These humans play at civilization quite convincingly. But he couldn't shake the feeling that they were seeing only what the humans wanted them to see. A polite mask covering something far more primal. And he sincerely hoped the Concorde would never have reason to see what lay beneath. Krell's memory glands pulsed as he recalled the first contact reports from 8 cycles ago. He'd been a junior attached then, assigned to review Scout Commander Mira Vassoon's preliminary assessment of the newly discovered spacefaring species from the backwater system designated Sol 3. Scout Vassoon's vessel had been conducting routine surveys along the spiral arm when they detected primitive faster-than-light emissions. Following standard protocol, they had observed from a distance, cloaked from detection. The reports Mira filed still circulated among diplomatic corps members with a mixture of disbelief and morbid fascination. "I have confirmed that these humans evolved on their home planet naturally," Mira had reported. Her typically stoic Talaxian features showing rare signs of astonishment in the recorded briefing. "Our preliminary scans classify their homeworld as this can't be right, a Class 12 Deathworld." The classification had triggered automatic verification protocols. No known sentient species had evolved on anything beyond a Class 9. The mistaken reading was quickly confirmed as accurate. The planet experiences extreme temperature variations, devastating atmospheric events, tectonic instabilities, dangerous radiation levels, and hosts over 8 million distinct species, an estimated 30% of which are predatory, Mira continued in her report. The fact that the dominant species lacks natural armor, toxin resistance, or significant physical advantages makes their survival, let alone their technological advancement, statistically improbable. Krell remembered the ensuing debates. Some theorized the humans must possess hidden physical capabilities or psychological adaptations that explained their survival. Others suggested they might be transplants from another world, their origin records lost to time. What nobody predicted was how pleasant they would be upon first official contact. "We come in peace," their leaders had said, using that exact phrase from their entertainment broadcasts, as if they knew the Concorde had been monitoring their communications. Their eager handshakes, their offers of cultural exchange, their willingness to adapt to Concorde customs all seemed to indicate a species grateful to join galactic civilization. The Sentient Species Evaluation Committee had been perplexed. Their predictive models suggested a species from such an environment should be territorial, aggressive, paranoid. Yet the humans displayed remarkable restraint and diplomacy. "Perhaps they've overcome their evolutionary heritage," the committee's final assessment stated. "A triumph of culture over nature." Krell knew better now. The humans hadn't overcome anything. They had simply channeled their Deathworld instincts in more productive directions. For now. He recalled Ambassador Reeves' words during a private function, "Humans thrive on challenges." She'd said it casually, sipping a beverage that would have paralyzed most other species. "We get bored without them." That statement had haunted Krell ever since. Because what happens when a species evolved to overcome constant threats suddenly finds itself in an environment with too few challenges? What happens when they get bored? The humans maintained military forces despite the Concorde's peacekeeping guarantees. "Just precautionary," they'd explained. "Old habits." Old habits indeed, Krell thought. The habits of apex survivors. The attack on New Haven, humanity's bustling colony in the Proxima Centauri system, wasn't supposed to happen. The Galactic Concorde had assured all member species that piracy had been reduced to negligible levels in this sector. A falsehood that cost 12,000 human lives. Krell had been present in the emergency session when the news arrived. The council chamber, normally a place of measured debate and careful diplomacy, erupted into chaos as the human representative, Ambassador Jack Reynolds, stormed in without the customary announcements. "They hit us at orbital dawn," Reynolds said, his voice unnervingly steady despite the muscle contractions visible along his jaw, what humans called clenching. "The Scarlet Claw pirate faction. 3 capital ships. They bombarded the main settlement before landing ground forces." High Chancellor Volo Nax's color-shifting skin pulsed with distress signals. "Ambassador Reynolds, while we deeply regret this tragic incident, proper protocols must be." "Proper protocols?" Reynolds interrupted, an action so rare in council proceedings that several representatives activated their translator devices, assuming a malfunction. "We informed your security forces about Scarlet Claw movements near our Colony 3 standard weeks ago." Krell watched with fascination as the human's pigmentation darkened around the facial features, a physiological response to emotional stress that humans couldn't control. The room's atmosphere sensors detected elevated levels of adrenaline and cortisol emanating from the human's body. "Our intelligence suggested only routine smuggling operations," offered Defense Coordinator PLT Zen. "The rapid escalation to violence was unexpected." Reynolds laughed, a sharp, humorless sound that caused several council members to recoil. "Unexpected? Have you read nothing about human history? Pirates don't attack for resource gain alone. They attack to establish reputation, and to instill fear." Krell noted how the humans' hands had closed into what they called fists, a configuration adopted for combat. Yet Reynolds maintained his position, respected the invisible boundary of diplomatic space. "We request immediate Concorde intervention," Reynolds continued. "The survivors report the Scarlet Claw fleet is still in the system, processing captives and looting resources. A response fleet can be authorized," High Chancellor Volo Nax said soothingly, tendrils weaving a gesture meant to calm agitated species. "After the Defense Committee convenes to assess the appropriate level of." "That will take days." For the first time, Reynolds' voice elevated beyond normal parameters. "By then, those pirates will be gone with our people, with our children." The mention of offspring caused a ripple of sympathetic pheromones across the chamber. Reproduction and progeny protection were universal biological imperatives. Council Elder Grill Talk leaned forward. Ambassador, surely you understand we cannot rush into potential combat without proper assessment and authorization. These bureaucratic safeguards prevent escalation of. Let me be clear, Reynolds said, placing both palms flat on the polished surface of the speaking platform. Krell noticed every security officer in the chamber tense at the gesture, though it wasn't technically threatening. We asked nicely for your help. We followed your protocols. Now our people are dying while you discuss committee meetings. The human straightened his posture, drawing himself to full height. For the first time, Krell saw something primeval flash across the ambassador's features. Earth has dispatched its own response fleet. They will reach Proxima Centauri in 26 hours. I came here not to request permission, but to extend a professional courtesy by informing you of our actions. A stunned silence filled the chamber. That is a violation of Concord security treaties, stammered Volonax. Member species are forbidden from unilateral military. Consider this our formal notice, Reynolds said, the artificial lights reflecting oddly in his suddenly cold eyes. You might have forgotten what pirates do to their victims. We humans have not. We've experienced it throughout our history, and we've learned how to deal with it. As the human turned to leave another breach of protocol, Krell's finely tuned diplomatic instincts flared with warning. The Concord had just witnessed something significant, the first crack in humanity's civilized veneer. The Deathworlders were about to show their true nature. 3 days after Ambassador Reynolds' dramatic exit from the council chamber, the human diplomatic compound on the Harmonious Exchange Station entered lockdown protocol. Communication channels went silent. Scheduled meetings were canceled without explanation. The compound's distinctive blue and green Earth flag was lowered and replaced with a stark black banner bearing a red symbol Krell later identified as an ancient human pictogram for war. They've gone completely dark, reported Zulvax during the emergency session Krell had been ordered to observe. Our liaisons receive only automated responses stating that all diplomatic functions are temporarily suspended. Krell had been assigned to monitor human communication channels, ostensibly a gesture of cooperation, but actually a thinly disguised intelligence operation. The data had been disturbing. Earth has enacted something they call Condition Crimson, Krell informed the council, his voice modulator carefully adjusted to project calm. Based on our analysis of their historical records, this represents their highest state of military readiness. Not seen since their third global conflict over 70 of their years ago. Chancellor Volonax's tendrils drooped with concern. For a mere pirate incursion? This response seems disproportionate. Krell activated the holographic display, showing the data his team had intercepted. Human military vessels are being recalled from all exploration and trade protection duties. Their orbital defense platforms have tripled power consumption. And this, he highlighted a section of the data stream, indicates they've activated something called sleeper units. What are these sleeper units? Asked Defense Coordinator PLT Zen. Unknown, admitted Krell. The term doesn't appear in any published human records. But the activation code was highest priority, sent to 7 remote outposts simultaneously. The council chambers erupted in concerned murmurs and chemical signals of distress. What of the human response fleet at Proxima Centauri? Council Elder Grill Talk inquired. Our long-range sensors detected their arrival yesterday. Krell hesitated. The information he was about to share had been deemed troubling by the analytical division. We have only fragmentary data, he began cautiously. The humans are employing some form of signal jamming technology we haven't encountered before. But we did intercept a partial transmission from the Scarlet Claw command ship. He paused. It was a distress call. A heavy silence fell over the chamber. Pirates issuing distress calls. Volonax's color patterns shifted to disbelief. Against a civilian member species? The message fragment contained references to boarding parties and close-quarters combat. Krell continued. The final words were, quote, "They don't stop. Nothing stops them. They keep coming even when end transmission." Krell switched the display to show the limited visual data they had obtained grainy, distance-distorted images of human vessels engaging the pirate fleet. The pirates' superior numbers should have guaranteed their victory. Instead, the tactical situation appeared bewilderingly one-sided in favor of the humans. "Our xenopsychologists suggest that we have fundamentally misunderstood human nature," Krell said. "We interpreted their cooperative behavior as their natural state, with aggression as an occasional deviation. Their historical records suggest the opposite may be true." The council watched in stunned silence as the display showed a human vessel heavily damaged, venting atmosphere from multiple hull breaches continuing to pursue a retreating pirate ship. By all logical assessments, the human craft should have withdrawn to make repairs. Instead, it accelerated. "The humans have a concept absent from most Concord species," Krell explained. "They call it righteous fury. Their literature suggests it overrides self-preservation instincts." A new data packet appeared in Krell's feed, and he updated the display with fresh footage. The images showed human soldiers in sealed combat armor boarding a pirate vessel. Unlike the mechanized combat units employed by most species, these were actual biological humans, moving with unsettling speed, despite the heavy protection they wore. "Most concerning," Krell continued, "these soldiers appear to be communicating through some form of battle language composed of short phrases and incomplete sentences. Our linguistics division reports the most frequently repeated phrase translates roughly as, 'Remember New Haven.'" The chamber fell silent again as the implications became clear. The humans weren't just fighting to stop the pirates or recover their stolen people. They were fighting for vengeance. "The first pirate vessel was neutralized 16 standard hours ago," Krell reported, his tone clinically detached despite the horrifying footage playing behind him. No survivors were reported. The Scarlet Claw pirates made their final stand in the Arcturus system, a notorious haven for outlaws nestled between 3 overlapping territorial jurisdictions. For centuries, the legal ambiguity had allowed criminal elements to operate in the system with relative impunity, bribing officials from each territory and playing them against each other. Krell had been hastily reassigned to the Concord observation vessel Distant Witness, ostensibly to maintain diplomatic protocols during unsanctioned human military operations. The actual reason, as his confidential orders made clear, was to gather intelligence on human combat capabilities. "Approaching Arcturus jump point," announced the pilot, her voice tinged with the mild anxiety common to her species. "Cloaking systems at maximum efficiency." The observation deck offered a panoramic view as they exited faster than light travel. Krell's 3 hearts accelerated simultaneously at the sight that greeted them. The human fleet had arrived first. "By the first egg," whispered Captain Lorax beside him. "How many ships did they bring?" Krell checked the tactical display. 27 capital vessels, 46 support craft, and the sensors are having difficulty categorizing the smaller craft. Possibly drone weapons. The pirates had established their defensive position around an abandoned mining facility on the system's 4th planet, a barren rock with toxic atmosphere and punishing gravity -1.4 times Earth standard. The type of environment most species would avoid. The humans seemed to consider it a minor inconvenience. "All vessels, maintain observation distance," ordered Captain Lorax as additional Concord ships arrived, representatives from 12 member species, all claiming various official reasons to witness the engagement. "We are not to interfere or be detected by either combatant force." The Concord fleet watched as the human armada deployed with mathematical precision. Not the chaotic, emotional response they had expected from a species supposedly consumed by vengeance, but a coldly efficient encirclement that cut off all escape routes. "They're hailing the pirates," reported the communications officer, intercepting the broadcast. A human voice, female, unnervingly calm, filled the bridge. "Attention Scarlet Claw forces. This is Commander Elena Blackwood of Earth Special Forces. You have committed acts of murder, kidnapping, and piracy against citizens of Earth. You will surrender unconditionally and release all captives unharmed. A brief pause. You have 5 minutes to comply. The pirate response came swiftly, a barrage of energy weapons fire directed at the nearest human vessels. The ships should have taken evasive action. Instead, they held position, allowing their shields to absorb the assault. Tactical analysis suggests the humans are testing the pirates' weapons capabilities, noted the Concord military observer, his exoskeleton clicking with confusion. The 5 minutes passed. The humans made no further communication attempts. What followed was unlike any military engagement Krell had ever witnessed. The human fleet moved with an integrated purpose that suggested either a hive mind or training so extensive it approximated one. Ships maneuvered in complex patterns, covering each other's vulnerabilities, focusing fire with devastating precision. Their targeting algorithms must be extraordinarily advanced, muttered the military observer. Those aren't algorithms, said Krell quietly. The tactical data suggests those are human pilots making split-second decisions. The pirate fleet's formation began to fracture under the methodical human assault. Several vessels attempted to flee, only to discover human ships had somehow maneuvered behind them, cutting off all retreat paths. How did those ships get there? Demanded Captain Lorax. They weren't there 30 seconds ago. Stealth technology beyond our detection capabilities, suggested the science officer. The humans breached the pirate defensive line in under 40 minutes, a military operation that Concord strategists would have allocated days to accomplish. The remaining pirate vessels retreated to the mining facility, seeking protection under its defensive shield. That's when the humans revealed the true extent of their capabilities. Small craft too small to be conventional dropships launched from several human vessels. The tactical display identified them as HFY orbital insertion pods. They're launching directly at the surface, reported the sensor officer in disbelief. Through the defensive fire. Trajectory analysis indicates this can't be right. They're aiming for a high-velocity impact. Krell watched as dozens of the tiny pods plummeted toward the planet's surface, many taking direct hits from defense systems, yet somehow maintaining their trajectories. Those pods contain actual humans, he informed the stunned bridge crew. Not drones or robots. Their historical records call this a combat drop. The observation vessel's sensors zoomed in on the mining facility as the first pods crashed through the upper levels. Within moments, the facility's defensive systems began shutting down from the inside. The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as helmet camera footage somehow being broadcast on an open channel. As if the humans wanted everyone to see, showed armored soldiers moving through the facility. Not the lumbering, mechanized units most species would deploy in the crushing gravity, but agile figures advancing with ruthless precision. At their lead moved a soldier whose armor bore distinctive markings. Commander Elena Blackwood, Krell presumed. She dispatched opponents with economical movements, no wasted motion, no hesitation. When her weapon ran out of ammunition, she simply drew a blade and continued. The humans are yelling something, reported the communications officer. It seems to be a coordinated vocalization pattern. It's called a battle cry, Krell explained, his diplomatic training allowing him to maintain composure despite the disturbing images. An ancient psychological tactic designed to intimidate enemies and synchronize group aggression. The footage showed human soldiers continuing to fight, despite injuries that would incapacitate most species. One maintained his position covering a corridor despite a penetrating wound to his torso. Another, her arm clearly broken, used her remaining limb to plant explosive devices with methodical calm. They don't stop, whispered someone on the bridge, inadvertently echoing the pirate's final transmission. Within 2 hours, the facility had fallen. The remaining pirate vessels, attempting to flee, found themselves caught in the implacable crossfire of the human fleet. The final transmission from the pirate leadership was broadcast widely. We surrender. We surrender. We'll release all captives. Just call off your... The transmission ended as the command ship exploded. Did they just execute surrendering enemies? Asked Captain Lorax, his voice barely audible. Krell studied the tactical data carefully. No, he finally said. The ship was destroyed by internal explosions. The pirates chose self-destruction over capture. The implications hung heavy in the air. What fate could be so terrible that hardened criminals would prefer death? They soon had their answer as Commander Blackwood's voice transmitted across all frequencies. Attention observers. We know you're there. The rescued colonists are being evacuated to medical facilities. Any species wishing to provide humanitarian assistance may approach on Vector 227 with identification and intentions clearly broadcast. A pause. To the Scarlet Claw survivors in custody, you will face human justice for human victims. The Concord's juridical leniency does not apply in this matter. The bridge erupted in concerned murmurs. They knew we were watching the entire time, Captain Lorax said, mandibles clicking anxiously, even through our best cloaking technology. Krell wasn't surprised. He was beginning to understand that humans were always aware of more than they revealed. Captain, he said quietly, I recommend we accept their invitation to provide humanitarian aid. I believe we are witnessing a crucial moment in Concord history. What moment is that? Asked Lorax. Krell's gaze remained fixed on the tactical display, where human ships were now efficiently organizing rescue operations with the same precision they had just demonstrated in combat. The moment when the galaxy realizes what Deathworld truly means. 2 standard weeks after the Battle of Arcturus, Krell found himself back in the familiar discomfort of the Harmonious Exchange Station's human sector. The diplomatic compound had reopened, the Black War Banner replaced once more with Earth's blue and green flag. To the casual observer, one might think everything had returned to normal. Nothing would ever be normal again. Thank you for meeting with me, Ambassador Reeves, Krell said, his translator carefully modulated to project respectful formality. Talia Reeves smiled that disconcerting human expression, but Krell no longer saw it as merely unsettling. He understood now that it was a gesture with multiple meanings, this one conveying acknowledgement rather than predatory intent. The Concord has been most helpful with the rehabilitation of our rescued colonists, she said, pouring a steaming liquid that humans called coffee into 2 containers, one specially designed for Phacidian physiology. Commander Blackwood's report spoke highly of the medical assistance your vessels provided. Krell accepted the beverage with a gesture of gratitude. A week ago, he might have wondered if it contained toxins. Now he understood such suspicions were unnecessary. If humans wanted him dead, they wouldn't resort to poison. The Scarlet Claw has been completely dismantled, Krell noted. Not just defeated, erased. 6 other pirate factions have voluntarily disbanded rather than risk human attention. A favorable outcome for all peaceful species, Reeves replied, her tone pleasant but her eyes watchful. Indeed. Krell paused, gathering courage for his real purpose. Ambassador, the Concord Security Council has authorized me to discuss a revision to humanity's status within our alliance. We believe we have fundamentally misunderstood your species. Oh? Her expression revealed nothing. We categorized Earth as a Class 12 Deathworld, but classified humans as a cooperation primary species with aggression secondary traits. Krell's secondary breathing vents fluttered nervously. Recent events suggest we should invert that classification. Reeves sipped her coffee, neither confirming nor denying. The question troubling many council members, Krell continued, is why humans presented themselves as primarily diplomatic when first contact was established. Most species emerging from such harsh evolutionary conditions lead with military strength. For the first time, Ambassador Reeves laughed, a genuine sound unlike Reynolds' harsh bark during the council confrontation. Ambassador Krell, when humans first ventured into space, we expected to find threats. Predators, conquerors. We prepared accordingly. She set down her cup. Instead, we discovered the Concord, a cooperative alliance of species who had never experienced the evolutionary pressures Earth provides. We made a choice. A choice, Krell prompted. To join your civilization on its terms rather than impose our instincts. To be the version of humanity that builds rather than conquers. Her eyes, those strangely expressive organs, conveyed sincerity. That choice was genuine, Ambassador. Not a deception. Krell's analytical mind processed this. Yet when threatened, we revert to what evolution designed us to be. She smiled again, but different now, a reminder of the predator lurking beneath. Apex survivors. Krell considered this dual nature a species capable of genuine cooperation, but harboring unmatched capacity for violence when provoked. The Concord is proposing a new security initiative, he said carefully, with humans taking a leadership role in anti-piracy operations throughout Concord space. Interesting. She tilted her head slightly. And the bureaucratic processes that prevented timely response to New Haven? Being reconsidered, Krell admitted, along with several assumptions about interspecies relations. As their meeting concluded, Krell made his way back to his quarters, composing his report for the council. How does one explain to a galaxy of relatively peaceful species that they had unknowingly invited apex predators into their midst? Not as conquerors, but as protectors. More importantly, how does one explain that this might be the best possible outcome for everyone? The humans had a concept in their literature, the wolf at the door. Krell now understood it wasn't about keeping the wolf out, but rather convincing it to guard your house instead of eating your children. The galaxy was a dangerous place. Having the most dangerous species on your side seemed suddenly like elegant evolutionary logic. Humans, Krell decided, weren't just Deathworlders. They were something far more valuable and far more terrifying. They were Deathworlders who chose peace until peace was no longer an option. And the galaxy would never be the same.